Hello, everyone, and welcome to the DCI Weekly Score Report brought to you by the Marching Arts Podcast, your guide to all things marching. Going to jump right in here with the current rankings. We're about a month out from finals. So, as it stands, our top 12, sitting in number one, we have Blue Devils at 84.5. In second, we have Carolina Crown at 83.45. Third is Santa Clara at 82.5. And in fourth, we have Boston at 80.85, followed closely by the Blue Coats at 80.45. Behind Blue Coats, we have Blue Stars at 79.45. And that brings us into seventh, which is the Cadets at 79.15. We've got the Mandarins in eighth at 78.8. We've got Phantom in ninth, dropped down to ninth at 77.8. And then in 10th gives us the Cavies at 74.5. Next is Blue Knights at 74.35. And then rounding out our top 12 is Crossmen at 73.8. But we have Colts right on their tail, 0.3 of a point in 13th, 73.5. What do you feel about that?
It's pretty close. I mean, I feel like it's a little misnomer to say that Cavies are going to be struggling because, again, they haven't performed since the 6th. So they've had 8 days off now as of this recording. Technically 9. I don't know if they compete tonight, but I definitely think they'll be into that upper top 8 instead of down in the bottom, like the last 4 cores to be fighting. And so I think Madison probably has the most growth to go to join like the fight for the top 12.
Right.
But I think there are I don't know how previous years have been, but like there have been a lot of cores that have taken a lot of time off between competitions. So I think sometimes these rankings can be a little misleading because some cores literally take a week off while their cores perform 2 or 3 times in 1 week and then take a week off. So there's a lot of bouncing around. But I guess just going back to the DCI website, I don't necessarily agree with the take the average of your last 3 scores. Because let's be honest, how many cores do we see that are in the upper tier lose points as the season goes on, you know?
Right. It's pretty standard that they all gain points.
Right. And even in like the time of COVID, yeah, people might be dropping out, so scores might be dropping, but I mean that's due to COVID, not because the core is getting worse.
Yeah. For those that are following with us on this weekly report, COVID has reared its ugly head in the circuit. So a lot of cores are suffering from that right now. So wait and see what happens during this week as far as scores go. I don't know if performances are going to be impacted. I'm sure they will be.
Right.
So we're going to keep an eye on that for you, and stay tuned. We'll let you know.
Right.
I think based off of the current trajectory, people are jumping like six. We talked about this before we started, about 5-6 points a week.
Right.
So I have a feeling, I said in the last one that we're going to end at like a low 90s score. I think we're going to end mid 90s and go back to what it used to be.
Right.
But with that said, you talked about it a little bit already. Like Jersey Surf, that's they're 63-15 right now.
Mm-hmm.
They are in dead last, but they've only had they've only played
Performed
3 times.
3 times, yeah. So they've been off since the 6th, so that's another 8 days. So maybe, they're gonna go ahead and clean up some things in their show, rewrite some things, and they might jump up to the 70s.
Correct.
So
They have been off for almost 10 days, which is crazy.
right.
Um,
And again, it might be a funding issue where they can only go to so many competitions this year since I guess shout out to Troopers. They have now joined the core T for Troopers, and then that's totally a thing. You should totally not check any sources for the T for Troopers, but also,
E for Troopers.
Yeah, Genesis is joining the what's the tour this week as
Oh,
well.
okay.
So and they have, I want to say, around 10, 12 competitions on their schedule. which isn't really that much when you think that there's like 3 competitions a night until finals from here. So,
Yeah, I mean, there are so many events over the next month,
right,
um, leading to finals. I think anything can change right now. I feel like the scores are fluctuating a lot
right.
based off what we're monitoring.
I think that's been
Um,
the exciting thing too, is that last 2 weeks it really has been Blue Devils on top for the entire 2 weeks, and now we see here
yeah,
now with Crown hopping in, with Blue Coats hopping in, it's starting to be a weekly change instead of just, yeah, there might be changes within the week because like one core goes to one competition, different core goes to a different competition, but now it seems like all the top dogs are here.
yeah, because to that point, on the 12th, so a couple of days ago, Crown was leading everything. And they
Right,
were at 83.45.
right.
And then Devils had their next show improved by 2 points
Yeah, last
and went to
night.
84.
Uh,
So, which is crazy.
mhm.
Um,
What
so
I
it's
Oh, go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh no, you keep going because I was gonna go on another tangent.
Oh, I was just gonna say it really, shows that anything can happen right now. We got a month left. Um, Cores are really starting to get their feet under them, no pun intended.
Right,
And are really starting to get it figured out. So I'm curious to see what's gonna happen as these 5 day, 10 day breaks turn into 0 day breaks where they're doing like two in one day.
right. Um, so speaking of that, like I sort of noticed some cores that do take off a lot of time in between shows, they do seem to get that very appreciable jump. Just for example, like Phantom Regiment, they went from June 1st until June 6th to their next show, and then they had a 7.6.5 to 7 point jump, and then same thing with Carolina Crown. They performed on the first and the second, and so they got a 1 point jump for between those days. So literally the next night, and then they didn't compete again until the 8th, and they jumped up from 74 to 81.85. So that's 7.5 points.
Right.
So I think there is definitely that. I think a lot of cores are going to have to be what's the word, balancing the costs and benefits of taking more time off of competitions to clean up your show or change your show, or get that competition experience where you go to multiple shows but you're only gaining 1 or 2 points every single night.
Yeah, and to the same point, right? We have like Blue Stars. They were off from the 9th to the 12th, so they only had like 4 days
Mm-hmm.
off, and they jumped 4 points to from last night, into last night up to 79.
Right,
And then we're talking about 84.55's the number to beat right now with Blue Devils, and both Blue Coats and Boston have not performed since the 9th.
right. So
So I'm curious to see how high they're going to jump. The one of them might overtake Blue Devils might drop down to, third,
right,
um,
and there are
third or fourth,
some,
depending on how the shows go.
yeah, and again, like we were pointing out the success stories, but there are some cores like you just mentioned. Blue Devils, they took off from 626 to the first, and they competed on the second, but they only had a 2 point jump. So some cores might benefit from taking those long periods of time off, whereas
Mm-hmm.
other cores, like, no, they need to be competing every night so they can just get experience
Reps, reps,
competing.
reps, reps.
Right.
Right. No, I think we are really, really ramping up to have a very interesting and maybe even very dramatic finish to the season
Mm-hmm.
over the last month. So I'm excited to keep up with that. Interested to see again how COVID's gonna affect these shows this week
Right.
and these scores. I don't necessarily know if the scores are going to be as high of a jump, but it could be wrong.
Right. And then we're moving into that portion of the season where it's everybody's moving into the Midwest slash like the Rockies area. So we're going to start seeing a lot more blending of the West Coast cores with the East Coast cores and
Right.
the South cores. So I think if you are saying, well, some of the judges might be more lenient on the East Coast, but the West Coast cores are really better, I guess that's time to put your money up and shut up. or shut
Yeah,
up.
right.
So
Put your money where your mouth is.
right, so these cores will now start being judged by the same judges instead of being only on their coast. So I think the next really big competition where like most of the world class cores will be at is DCI Southwestern Championship in San Antonio or Houston. So literally it's almost all 20
Yeah.
something cores competing at that competition. So I
Yep.
guess
And then the next one will be the Southeast,
right. So I think these
which we'll be at.
will be at come find us. It's at what, Georgia State Stadium, whatever, Central
Yep.
Park
Yep. Georgia State Stadium, July 30th.
at 5
We're
p.m.
gonna Yep, we're gonna be there the whole time. So um come find us. It'll
Yeah,
be fun.
come say hi. Um, you know, come tell us how we're completely wrong. But I'm sure there's gonna be a ton of crown people at the show anyways. So maybe we'll be
Right.
like, no, we totally agree. We'll be like,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I am I'm excited for that day.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a good day. Um but just to review about our um based on score alone over the last show. So just the last show, we're saying Blue Devils are in first. Um, that we've got Carolina Crown in second, Santa Clara in third, Boston in fourth, Blue Coats in fifth, Blue Stars in sixth, um, Cadets in seventh, Mandarins in eighth, Phantom in ninth, Cavies in 10th, Blue Knights in 11th, and rounding out that top 12 is Crossman, based off of the last show they
Sure.
had. Sure. Um, but if we're going off the official scorecard, where they're using the average of the last three, the official lineup
Boo.
from 1 to 12 is number one Blue Devils, number two Santa Clara, number three Crown, four Coats, five Crusaders, six Mandarins, seven Stars, eight Cadets, nine Phantom, 10 Blue Knights, 11 Cavies, and 12 Crossmen.
And
So pretty
again,
different.
we're posting this recap tomorrow morning, and there's a competition tonight in Tupelo, Mississippi, which has Boston Crusaders competing in it. So Boston might be on top tomorrow, since again they haven't played since the ninth. And
Yep,
yeah, it's a 4 point jump, but of course we've seen cores do 7 point jumps, so it's totally possible
correct.
Boston is on top tomorrow.
Correct. So, just to talk about the upcoming shows because we do it every time. Like you just said, tonight on the 14th we have DCI Tupelo, um, or Tupelo. Not sure correct way to say that. Correct me, please. Um, on the 15th we've got one, two, three shows tomorrow, in Cheyenne, Wyoming, Ukaipa,
Oh,
um,
Ukaipa.
Ukaipa, California, and Rockford, Illinois. The 16th, we got Memphis, Tennessee, Millbrook, Alabama, and Fort Collins, Colorado, Vista, California, Whitewater, Wisconsin. So we got four on the 16th. Um, and then on the 17th, we got Daphne, Alabama, and Bellflower, California. So that's only over the next 3 days. That's how many shows are happening.
Yeah, so Genesis is
Um,
premiering on the 16th, and I think this is where we start to see shows kind of separate between DCI World Class and DCI Open Class. So,
mhm.
um, do definitely check out the DCI Open Class cores, because I think we've watched some of the Open Class cores, and the
There's some
quality,
impressive stuff going on
yeah,
over there.
they definitely convince, or not convince you, but they definitely subvert your expectations on how well they do their shows as well. So even if you're like, oh, it's just open class, like, well, they're still better than 95% of musicians out there. DCI might be
Exactly.
99%, but open core is still 95. So,
Correct.
um,
So it's exciting. I'm ready to see where it goes. Again, we got about a month left. Finals is August 11th. Is that August 11th? I don't know.
yes, August 11th, prelims.
Is prelims. Okay.
Yeah. And then we might do a little recap about DCI Open class when they have their championships on sometime in August, like the week before or something. So
Yeah, absolutely. We can we'll do a score report on that as well. And then
yeah, August 8th. So it's literally that
and we'll see
entire
where
week.
it ends up. So DCI International again. Hey, if you guys want us to report on it and you want us to go there live, let us know.
Well, this has been the DCI Score Report brought to you by the Marching Arts Podcast. You can find us on all the socials at the Marching Arts Pod. That's POD. But again, we'll see you next week.